Hello, welcome to the 16th installment of Drive Time with Mike, the lesson format we use at Walnut Street Church of Christ for our small groups known as community drive groups. Thanks for riding with me. Now today I want to talk about something kind of complex. We're going to review a little bit from last week and then we're going to move into our scriptures. And today's scriptures are Luke chapter 6 verses 37 through 45. Luke chapter 6 verses 37 through 45. Last week Jesus challenged us to do good, to actively pursue doing good in every situation to every person. And he summarized his statements with this one statement that we know as the golden rule: do unto others as you would have done unto you. Now, this flies in the face of many people who are Christian today, and it flies in the face of many teachers back in Jesus' day. Because most teachers back in Jesus' day said this. They would take the golden rule and put it into the negative, which is don't do unto others the things that you don't want them to do to you. In other words, if you don't like it, then don't do it to other people. And that was kind of the idea. And that's kind of where a lot of Christians are today. I know for me, that's where I was for a long time, because I thought the most important thing was to not sin against God and not sin against people. Now, the thing is, Jesus said the most important rules were to love God and to love others. And see, if you do that, then not sinning is sort of naturally taken care of. Let me give you an example of this. Most of us have experienced a time in our walk with God, in our walk with Jesus, where we felt very close to Him and we were very focused on our relationship with Him. And you were focused on doing the right things. Now, when you did the wrong thing, you felt it, and nobody had to tell you that what you were doing was wrong because you knew it was wrong. But so often, if we just focus on not sinning, the right thing to do passes us by, and we realize it later on that we had an opportunity to do what's right and we didn't seize the opportunity. You know why? Because not sinning is a lethargic or an apathetic stance. The easiest way to not sin is to not do anything. If I just don't commit the act, I won't commit the sin. So it doesn't actually work the other way around. Now, isn't it true that most people call us hypocrites because we don't do the things we know we ought to do? They don't call us hypocrites so much because we sin, but rather because we don't do the things we know we should do. Oh, you know you're supposed to love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, but you're too lazy to get up and go to church, and people call you a hypocrite. Oh, you know you're supposed to love your neighbor as yourself, but you can't even treat your spouse with dignity and respect, and people call you a hypocrite. See, it's not the things, it's not so much when we sin that people call us a hypocrite. It's when we don't do the things that we should do, the things we know we're supposed to do, when we don't take an active role in doing good to other people. Now, Jesus actually in our scripture today points out the two most common ways that people point out that we're hypocrites as Christians. It's very interesting. The first way, he talks about blind guides. The blind leading the blind. Now, if you go to any Sunday school, on any given Sunday, in any church across America, you can find a blind guide in there somewhere. The blind guide is this, and you know what? Sometimes it wears us all out, doesn't it? The blind guide is the guy who has all the answers. He knows all the morals. He knows all the stories. He knows all the history. He always knows the right answer to every biblical question. Yet, he can never take his own advice. He's got advice for every other person, but he can't take his own advice. Now, this guy is not a bad guy. It's not because this guy is not devoted to Jesus or doesn't love Jesus. He's just simply, in most cases, got the wrong stance. He's focused on not sinning, and because he's focused on not sinning, he's blind to the good that he ought to do. It's true, isn't it? The second way that Jesus points out that people recognizes as hypocrites is he talks about a person who has a speck in his eye, and then another person has this big old plank in his eye, like this big old 2x4 hanging out of his eye. And it's kind of a crazy way of describing the scenario, but it's kind of like this. If you got something in your eye that you couldn't get out, that needed to come out because it was going to cause blindness, and you went to the optometrist, and when you got there, the optometrist's eyes were just completely clouded over and milky from cataracts, would you want that guy to help you? No, because his vision is so blurred. His vision is unclear. How can a person with vision that is that unclear help you to get that little tiny thing that's in your eye that you need to get out of your eye? He can't. See, Christians suffer sometimes because of apathy, because of this, I'm going to avoid sin, and therefore I also end up avoiding doing good. Christians sometimes end up justifying why they don't do what is good. I mean, you've seen this. Christians who start to even take the Bible and bend it to their will so they can justify why they don't do what's right in a circumstance, why they don't do what's right for a person. They find a way to justify it, and they cloud their vision. Now, when somebody is justifying not doing what's right, people call us a hypocrite again, don't they? Those are the two ways that people call us a hypocrite. One, when we're blind, we don't realize the things that we should be doing that are good. Or two, when we justify the good that we don't do. The good that we don't do. Those are the two ways that people primarily call us hypocrites. Now, Jesus says this at the end. He says that people know who you are by the fruit that you bear. He actually says it that a good tree is known by its good fruit. Now, because of our apathy, for all practical purposes, Christians have changed this a little bit, and here's how we apply it in today's world. A good tree is not one that just bears fruit, but a good tree can be one that doesn't bear any fruit at all. But that's not true, is it? We want it to be true, but it's not, is it? In reality, if you had a tree at home that didn't bear any fruit, you'd cut it down just like you'd cut down the tree that was bearing bad fruit, because neither one are worth anything. Now, Jesus said people will recognize us when we choose to do good to everyone in every circumstance. So I challenge us today to be those type of people, to be the type of Christians that would do good and think about what's best and what's right for a person in every circumstance. If you will do that, then people will recognize you as a child of God. People will recognize your fruit. And I pray that that's the type of people that we will be as Christians. God bless you.